Everybody know, work all play, okay? So we sip a little, certainly the rest is spill. Me and Charlie at the bar, running up a high bill, nothing less than ill when we dress to kill.
Evening, everyone.
Evening.
There's a few familiar faces here. Has anybody heard my story before? Has anybody not heard my story before? A couple of people. Okay. Well, I'm going to tell my story again. For those of you that have seen it before, I'll try and introduce some new stuff that I haven't included before, because some of it's a bit ex-certificate. So I'll try and bring some new stuff in. But for those of you that don't know, I joined the business. It's now quite a long time ago, about 13 years ago now, and I joined more out of desperation than inspiration, more out of the need to get some money quick. And the reason for that was I had a very large tax bill. I had about 60 grand tax bill and about £100,000 worth of debt at that time, back at the beginning of the business. And I had 60k liability to the revenue. I had a £20,000 overdraft, which when I look back on it was really, it was quite amazing how I actually managed to persuade the bank to lend me the 20 grand. But and then I had loans, credit cards, various other things, and various people chasing me for money. I also had a repossession order on my house. I had various other things as well going on. So we weren't in a very good financial position. I used to work in corporate insurance, and a lot of people were telling me to go bankrupt when I got the tax bill, but it would have meant that I'd had to give up my insurance career, because you weren't allowed to be bankrupt and do what I was doing in my job. So I didn't want to do that, so I started to look for ways of making extra money. And I came up to, I'm from Kent originally, and I came up to Yorkshire to work for an insurance company. And I started to look for ways of making extra money. And I did join another network, and for a while I thought I found the solution to my problem. It was an American network. Some of you might, anyone been involved in the American network? Oh, a few people, few. For a while I thought I had the solution to the problem, but after a year of working that business, my biggest cheque was £38.50. So the in-name revenue weren't very impressed with that. So I gave that up. But I did learn quite a lot of good things in that business. And one of the things that I realised was that the only way I was ever really going to get ahead, and the only way I could ever possibly get out of debt, was to own my own business. Because if I just stayed working in a job for a boss, there was no way, I don't know how I could have imagined getting 100 grand together. So I knew I had to own my own business. So I started an insurance brokerage, and I went off and I borrowed 20 grand off my sister. And I got together with a friend of mine, and he borrowed some money off someone else, because neither of us had any money. That was one of the challenges to setting up a business. We didn't have a bean between us. And so we scraped together about 70 grand, and we started a brokerage, and it went really, really well. We employed quite a lot of people at the end. We employed about 30 people, and it cost around about £20,000 a month just to run the business before we made any money. But we did have. I did manage to get a good income from that. I was earning about 35 grand a year, and first I had a Peugeot, and then I had a company BMW, and then I had a company Merck. And but I still needed more money, so I started looking for other things to do in the evenings and weekends. And I answered an advert in the local Bradford newspaper about delivering and collecting catalogues. Some of you have probably seen those sorts of adverts. And there was about 5 in the local paper, which all said the same thing, really, except there was one. Well, most of them said earn £100 a week delivering and collecting catalogues, or earn £50 to £100 a week. But there was one that said earn £500 a week delivering catalogues, so naturally I answered that one. You know? So then I got started in Clean Easy, and I retailed about £1,000 of orders in the first sort of 4 months. And I was quite genuinely amazed that it worked as well as it did, because having been in this other network where we didn't get any kind of volume of orders from anybody, when I did my first collection, I think we got 70 quid from the first like 300 catalogues, which most people, when I tell most people that, they don't think that's very impressive. Most people get more than that in my team. When I start people, they nearly all do better than that now. But I was over the moon because it was £70 more than I'd had in the previous 12 months in the other network. So I thought, well, it obviously works. People obviously buy from the catalogue. So I just kind of kept going with the thing. And then I went to some meetings, and I met some people at some meetings who were making an awful lot of money. So I kind of started to get into recruitment and to build a team. But in the beginning, we were very sceptical. So if you're new, it's okay to be sceptical, but be open-minded. We actually kind of made a pact when we joined that we wouldn't go to any meetings and we wouldn't recruit people and do any of that network marketing stuff that we'd done in the previous thing. We just said we'll just put the catalogues out and see if we can make some money. But after about a couple of weeks, I went to a meeting, and then a couple of months later we started to introduce people, and then anyway we got up to like the level of we're going to check basically for about 1,300 quid, and I thought this is fantastic. Karen left her job because we knew we could make more money in Clean Easy, and I thought this everything's going to be fine. I had a good income from the brokerage, from the insurance brokerage. And then I had 1,300 a month coming in from Clean Easy, and I thought everything would be fine. I've cracked it. I'll just keep doing this, do Clean Easy part time, and I'll be able to get out of debt. But unfortunately, at that time, the guy that owned, I had 35% ownership of the brokerage, and the guy that had 65, because he put the money in, decided it was going so well that he'd really like 100% of the company, so he fired me, which meant I lost the income. The 35k a year in the company, and then I had to actually go and get a job, which was really difficult. Actually, go and get a job and work for someone else. So I did that, and but the following month we did go gold in Clean Easy. So then at that point, having got to the age of whatever I was then, I knew that the Clean Easy was the only way out. It was like the last chance saloon, because I wasn't going to go back to working for other people and make money that way. So I did stay in that job for about 18 months. It was in a place called Winchon down the M6, and that was where the company was based. I was working from home, and it was a bit like a dream job actually when I think back on it, because I worked from home, and they gave me lots of pay rises, and I did get a path where I could have earned quite a lot of money in that company. But by then I'd had it up to here working for other people, so I just basically said, no, I've just got to do Clean Easy. So we got going with Clean Easy, and I did it part-time, and after about 20 months, but just under 2 years, we reached the level of bronze executive distributor, and we qualified for a trip to Monte Carlo, to Monaco, and then we also qualified for a trip to Cairns in Australia, and we snorkeled the Barrier Reef. And when I got back from Australia, I got straight in my car, drove to my boss's house, said that he can keep your job, because I just couldn't do it anymore. So we kind of went full-time Clean Easy. Now I've got a few things here. Work this. Here we go. Visions of a better future. So we did have a vision of a better future, even though things weren't going very well. Now this is a picture of us right back in the early days of the business, and you'll see there. Look, I don't look a day younger there, do I? Than I do now. But you'll see my son there. Now my son, he's about 8 years old then, I think. Maybe 7 years old, 7 or 8 years old. And you'll see the boxes stacked up behind him. That was our weekly order. And there is a reason for telling you this story. But when Karen gave up her job, she used to earn about £500 a month part-time in her dead-end insurance job. And she was supposed to work from like 9 till 1, but she usually used to have to stay later because there was more work to do than she could do. So she gave that up, and so we had to replace her £500, but obviously we were skint, so we needed to make a bit more money as well. So what she did was she retailed £3,000 a month by putting catalogues out for the next 6 months, and she did that in school hours. So she used to drop the kids at 9 o'clock at school, and then go and deliver 200 catalogues, and then collect 200 catalogues, and she did that 5 days a week for the next 6 months. And she retailed £3,000 a month every month for the next 6 months. And what that did was it gave me massive belief in the business, because no one could ever come to me and say it doesn't work, because we had other distributors in the area. We had poor pickups. In period 5 of that year, we put out about 5,000 catalogues to do the 3 grand. But we had to do the 3 grand because that was the goal. In fact, we ended up with Gavin Scott's top retailers that month. That was never a goal, it just kind of happened because back in those days, if you did 3 grand, it was like big retail. Now, everybody was more than 3 grand. And 3 grand now probably wouldn't get in the top 50, I wouldn't think. But one of the things that happened, which is worth passing on to you, is that back in those good old days, we could only order once a week. Some of you remember that? Who remembers that, those days, before the internet ordering system? We could only order, we had one order day a week, didn't we? So you had to order on that day. If you missed that day, you had to wait another week. Well, if you did that much retail, you wouldn't have wanted, like, imagine getting 2 of those in a week. So what it did is it forced us to put out the right number of catalogues and to order on the same day every week. And I sometimes think that now we've got all this internet ordering, it actually doesn't help people form the right habits, because that just became a really, really good habit that we ordered on the same day every week. And because we ordered on the same day every week, I also listened to a tape at that time by Chris Mason Paul, who was the first millionaire in Clean Easy, and he said that you should put a thank you note through the letterbox to tell the customers when you're going to deliver the order. Who does that now? Everyone does that now. Nearly everyone does that. Well, we started to do that, and it saved a lot of time, and it seemed like a really good idea to me. So we just developed some really good habits in terms of the retail side of the business. I'll come back to that later anyway. But that's kind of like where we started. But it is really about the habits, isn't it, that you develop. Yeah. Now, after I gave up my company Merck, I'm going to stand up here actually. After I gave up the company Mercedes, I got one of these cars. I don't think this was the first one I got actually. This might have been a bit later. But anybody recognise what sort of car that is? So did you have one as well, did you? Well, it was a really horrible car, actually. I liked it, but Karen refused to ever get in it. She actually didn't. She never got in it. But you'll see all the car stickers. And the reason why I show you the car stickers is that I was really proud to be in the business. And when I used to go and do appointments with people, I used to try and drive it right up the drive so that they could see. And some of them used to say to me things like, it looks quite good, but I don't have to have my car done like that, do I? And I say, no, don't worry, it's okay. But that was my car. I used to joke that it was only the stickers that held it together because it was a bit of a rust one. And I used to stick the petrol as well. And the only thing Karen actually did get in it one time, but the suspension went and it bounced down the road and she never got it after that. So, but I'm not really a car person. Right, now this is a couple of pictures. We went to Malaysia. You see the towers there? Is that oh, here we go. That's in Kuala Lumpur, and at that time, they were the biggest, tallest buildings in the world, apparently. But I think they've been overtaken now by various other places. I don't know where the tallest one is now. But who else went to Malaysia here? Did anyone else go to Malaysia? Sue, you were in Malaysia? Well, it was a bit of an alcoholic blur, so I can't remember. But do you remember when we went up the top there, we had dinner up there, and it was a revolving restaurant. It was a revolving restaurant, which was really tricky because we used to drink quite excessively on the trips. And if you like went to the loo, when you came back out of the loo, you kind of lost your table. So it was kind of quite an experience. But and then the next one was in South Africa. And that was an amazing venue, actually. Who was in South Africa? Sue again. Yep. And John and Peter and Mo. Well, that was one of the most amazing venues I think I've ever been to, actually, the hotel there. Quite incredible. And these trips are really life-changing experiences, I believe. Now, here's another one. This is in Thailand on the elephant safari a few years ago. And I should say, actually, at this point, I'm just going to give you a few philosophies from the thing. And this is a little observation that I would make about the business. A lot of people come into the business and they don't really give it enough time. They have very kind of short-term perspectives. They maybe put the catalogues out for like a couple of weeks, or maybe a week, or once. And they don't really kind of think about it as building a business. But the reality is that we fail either slowly or quickly. We fail or succeed slowly or quickly over long periods of time. Even when I was heading for failure, before I got into Clean Easy and I got that big 100 grand debt, I did find out about 60k in it one day, but it wasn't the result of one day that I got that 60 grand debt. It was actually the result of quite a few years of neglect. So it is true that we fail or succeed slowly over long periods of time. So obviously we want everybody to succeed, so the moral of the story is to develop a long-term perspective about your business, because you can't really build a business in like 3 weeks or 6 weeks or 6 months. You can build a customer base in 6 months, but if you want to build a network, it's going to take you a few years. So it's good to accept that in the beginning and not get frustrated. Okay, this is in Budapest and also Sydney. We went to Sydney and who was in Sydney? Who else was in Sydney? Sue again. Big with money. So Sydney was amazing, wasn't it? A pretty incredible place to stay. And we had a hotel in the Four Seasons overlooking the Sydney Harbour Bridge and the Opera House. And then I spoke in Budapest for the company at the conference there. It was the first time I spoke overseas. So these are all fantastic experiences. Now here's a little philosophy that I encourage, especially new people. And that is that you should be independent of the good opinion of other people, except your upline. If you listen to your upline and the people that introduce you into the business and the people that will help you in the business, the people that are actually making some money, I think that's a good idea. But other than that, I think you should, avoid listening to people outside of the business talking about the business, because everybody told us it wouldn't work. My wife's family. Even when she gave up her little dead-end £500 a month job, they thought it was like a big risk that we were taking. And it wasn't really a big risk. It was a £500 dead-end, £6 an hour job, which she hated. So to me, it was like just logical. But they said, "Oh, don't do that." And when I gave up my job, they just thought I'd lost the plot. I thought, so don't listen to other people. Listen to the people that are making the money. That's really cool. We used to go to barbecues actually with our negative relatives on a fairly regular basis, and one of the people there used to say to me, "Oh, so you're on your way to your first million, are you?" Things like that, Now I just say yes, actually, but also try and enjoy the journey. This is in Mauritius, and we went up and did that Who's done the parasailing thing? Oh, you've all done that as well, have you? It's good, isn't it? Here's another little philosophy. It's 80% strategy and 20% skill, which means really that to build a business, it's all about how you think about your life and the strategic planning for your life and where you want to be in 3 years' time, 5 years' time, 10 years' time. I'll come back to that at the end, actually. But it is the critical part of the business is you deciding what you want from the business, how you want to live your life, and where you want to get to, and what you're prepared to put into it to make that happen. That's kind of key. It's having a strong reason why is really, really important, because most of the things that you have to do to build a business, in reality, are easy to do. That's the reality. But they're also easy not to do. So you have to have the motivation to do the things on a consistent basis. Now, someone was just talking about Florida. We went to Florida, and the reason why I put this in is you'll see my son there. He was 12 at that time, so I think that would have been, he's 20 now, so what does that mean? So it's about 8 years ago, so that would be about 2004. I think it was 2005 we went to Florida. And you see my other son, he's now 18, and my daughter is now 11. Now my eldest son, Alexander, is 20 years old, and we're always told, in the real world, people can't get on the property ladder. Well, he's just bought his first property, age 20, he's just bought a one-bedroom really nice apartment in Leeds, overlooking the canal, right in the centre of Leeds, in a really nice development. And we were able to help him with the deposit. He's got a job. He works he's trained to be a chartered accountant, and but we were able to help him come up with the money, because you have to put up a big deposit these days, and he had to put up about $7,000 or something for the which he didn't have, but we helped him out with the deposit. So don't worry about getting your kids on the property ladder. Kids can get on the property ladder if their parents are in easy. So you just need to remember that. But it will change your life, but it will also change the life of your kids. And my other son, I'll tell you about my other son later actually. Someone was talking about horses. My daughter is also into horse riding, and our next goals are actually to move house and get some land and get some horses. But I'll tell you about that. I've got time in a second. But we also won a Mini Cooper, and that was kind of nice. That was like a £13,000 bonus just for building the business. We were a bit mercenary about that, I must admit. We did sell it straight away over the phone to the dealer before we took delivery of it. And I did make a special journey of going over to the dealership to collect the cheque, put it in the bank. But other than that, we basically just took the money, put it in the bank. But that month was a good month actually, because we also got our bank charges back that month, and we also got a cash bonus as well, so it was a good month. But so here's another little philosophy for you, and that is that it's not really what happens to you that makes the difference, it's how you respond to the challenges. So everybody has challenges, everybody has, sometimes life's very difficult, sometimes it's not the business that might be difficult, but it might be things outside the business that throw us off course in the business. But it's not, ultimately, it's not what happens to you. I was 100 grand in debt. I had, one time I was showing a lady the business in my house, and a bailiff knocked on the door. And I had to, when I opened the door, I knew it was a bailiff straight away, because you can kind of get to know what the sort of language they use. So I started to cough really, really loudly and ushered him down the drive so I could get assigned into the business. But so we did have lots of difficult challenges to overcome in the early days of the business, especially financial things. And even when we were making quite a good income, it didn't really feel that good because we were just clearing off debt. So we were making good progress with the business, but it's very easy to get jaded and to get tired, and you've just got to keep setting your goals and keep focused on your goals to keep going with the thing. But it's not really what happens to you, it's what you do about it. That's the kind of Jim Rohn philosophy that helped us and has kind of stuck with us in the business. There's the cash bonus that month for maintaining silver SED. We got an addition as well as the car. They gave us 3,250 quid that month as well, which was really nice. And then, so here's one, put gratitude in your attitude, because there's always people worse off than you. I'm reading a really good book at the moment called Grapes of Wrath by John Steinbeck. Anybody read that book? No? Oh, one person. It's a really good book, and it's about people having to deal with extreme poverty in the Great Depression in America. And it made me think, when I started to read it, I think, well, it wasn't so bad. Even being 100 grand in debt in 2000 and whatever it wasn't as bad as being in the Great Depression in 1930 if you lost your farm and you had no food. So you've got to get it in perspective. Okay, there's our biggest cheque for 4 weeks, which was the end of last year, £6,744.65p. And I do have some news on that, and I'm going to overtake that cheque by period 7 this year. That's my next short-term goal, and I will get a 7 grand cheque by period 7 this year, and I will get a 10 grand cheque this year. My goal is to get a 10 grand cheque. Thank you very much. Now, I'm very confident, I'm extremely confident that we will achieve that. We've just opened another meeting in Scotland, and I've just opened another meeting in London, and we are expanding nationally as a group, and we've got a lot of people joining our business at the moment. And I'm very, very, I've just broken out, you probably heard on the Easy Reach the other day, I just broke a frontline gold distributor at the end of the last period, and I'm confident we can get a 10 grand cheque this year. So we ain't stopping, we're not resting, not yet. So, but it's an incredible business that you can even think of setting goals like that. And I've said to my team that I will put £1,500 on my cheque in the next 90 days. So I'll put that up to Gavin actually in the next few days. So that's kind of where we are now. That's our best cheque.